Dude, we should be good now.
Yes.
Uh, you awaken to a very unpleasant event. Your legs have given out, and you have collapsed onto the bleached stone bricks that are all around you. And your guts have sort of stumbled out of your stomach onto the floor. They are huge and purple and bloated.
Well, that's troubling on a couple of fronts. One, that it happened. Uh, or I'm sorry. One, that my guts have done that, and two, that my guts were able to do that at all, because normally there's
Fleshy bits
an
between
inhibitor
you
in the plate.
and yes.
At the very least, the waistcoat should have been it should have prevented some.
Yes, it seems as though your waistcoat is missing some patches,
It would
and
appear so.
your guts have taken opportune moment to divulge themselves.
Well, it seems dabbling in super absinthe was a bad idea. Um, so, what's the hallucination look like?
As you look at your hands, you are covered in whatever clothes that you have, but they are ratty and rotted away to a large extent. Your hands are skeletal. I mean, there's nothing connecting some of the bones together, but they still remain together. And they respond to you wanting them to do things. And every now and then, in your view, this weird purple bulging distended thing kind of flicks from your mouth.
Well, we're going to try to grab that, get a better look at it.
Okay, you have no problem catching it since it seems to sort of obey you and go into your hand when you do so, much like a tongue. Um, it has like jagged teeth poking out of the sides of it, and it has a pair of pincers on the end, and a weird mouth.
Okay, we'll insert some period of time of freaking the fuck out, and probably a couple of iterations of them. Because from a rational perspective, this can't possibly be happening. So every time it does happen, just reinforces the this can't possibly be happeningness
Yes.
that is happening.
Now, that said, at the same time as you are horrified by what you're experiencing, and there's no possible way, probably the weirder part is that there's something in the back of your mind that thinks this is totally normal.
Oh, that little voice can just fuck right off. It doesn't know what it's talking about. Got a, leech tongue.
Got a leech tongue, and your guts are on the floor.
Well, all of this is just amazing, but the best bet would be to find something to sober up with, and get whatever trip is happening done with quickly, so we can put all of this behind us.
Okay.
So where are we at?
All right. So you are in a circular room. Walls are all made of that same bleached stone, with the other end of the room having a double door that is currently closed, although you can kind of see the latch open on one of the doors.
Okay, well, we're gonna get an armful of bowels, and we're gonna kind of duck walk over to that door and see what we can.
You realize that your coat could probably be pulled over the guts and kind of like buttoned to hold them in place.
Well, yeah, but I mean, then I get the
Armful of guts
I
it is.
get bowel I get bowel on my coat.
All right. Bowels it is. Bowels and arm it is. You are holding your bowels in one arm. You're going to approach the door.
Yes.
Okay. You can open it.
Uh, we shall attempt to do so.
You open the door. Down the hallway, you see two things. One looks like a strange sort of pedestal, and the other looks like a box, a stone box.
Hmm.
It is very dark in here, but for some reason, you're not having a lot of trouble seeing.
Well, that's the least weird thing that's going on. So it's just gonna walk right.
Okay.
Um,
Understandable, when you just got into a car wreck and your pinky's broken, but you've also got a piece of muffler going through your chest. The broken pinky probably not really high on the mind.
this is this is more along the lines of you're carrying your own head and you're fine with that, but also you've got a hangnail.
Yeah.
Uh, well, let's walk down that hallway a little bit and see what's going.
Okay.
I'm seeing door and stone box is.
Yep, you see a door, and you see the stone box on the right. It's very large, has a big stone lid on it, and on the left, you see a pedestal that has two. So the center of the pedestal looks like it's made of stone. There is, the middle part of it is made of metal. There are metal grate basically there, and beneath that, you can see what looks like some sort of sigil carved into the stone. Above that, on either side of the circular grate, there is a pole that goes up that has a shackle on it, but the shackles are like built into the pole. And it looks like there's a sieve that comes out of both of those poles that points down towards the grate. And the shackles are damaged, so they would not be able to lock.
Okay, so some sort of shackly thing on the left there,
Mm-hmm.
and then box on the right.
And then box on the right.
Does this appear to be a box that would be openable?
It does indeed appear to be a box that is openable.
Well, let's put the guts down for a moment and let's try to.
Okay, give me a strength check. Okay. As you begin to push the lid open, you're basically pushing the lid to the side. It becomes radically apparent what this is, as there is a person inside of it. A very well preserved person who seems to be laying in their sarcophagus with flowers and things next to their head. This person is an older gentleman. He is dark skinned, gray hair. Looks like maybe he died of some sort of disease, as his skin's a little bit discolored. But he does look all fleshy and fresh.
Well, let's give them a couple of firm pokes to the cheek to make sure that they're not just sleeping or something like that. Hey.
Okay. There is no response from this individual, and you do not see any sort of heaving of the chest.
Well, not too useful. Let's look at this door.
The door is locked, but I need an investigation from you. Okay. To your left, the door, you can see what looks like it looks kind of like a trough sort of built into the ground leading from the altar to the wall.
Okay, so from the left rectangle straight up to the wall.
Mm-hmm. Above that, on the wall itself, there is a sort of like hanging off of the wall, rather. There's sort of like a glass vial that is built into the wall, or a glass container, like a tube. It is currently empty, but the trough sort of leads into a metal pipe that leads up to that.
Their door fluid is running.
Their door fluid is indeed running low.
So let's see. We have a little trough running to the wall to a tube, which presumably runs to some sort of glass container next to the door that is closed and has no apparent opening.
It has no apparent opening. In fact, it does not even have a keyhole.
Well, this is all a very confounding dream. It's much more horrifying / boring than normal.
When does the zombies jump out and try to eat you part of this nightmare start, or is this just the campy slice of life version of Undead Horrible Nightmare?
It's like there's all kinds of buildup and no payoff, man.
But he's getting the good absinthe, but really he got the knockoff version.
Oh well, let's look at this altar a little more. So it has a pole with some damaged shackles on it.
Has 2 poles on it with some damaged shackles on it. One shackle for each. Now, give me an investigation check. And don't fuck it up this time. Okay, good. All right. So you can see that there is a lever on this shackle that is or on this pedestal that is like beneath the feet. Like if you were to stand on it, it's like underneath your feet. You would probably have somebody else, while someone was standing on this, quote unquote, standing on this, pull the lever, and the shackles, as you investigate them, have a small hole in the bottom of them that leads down into the sieve, and there is something sharp inside of those holes. You can kind of like run your bony little appendage over them, and you can feel the sharpness. You get the feeling that these shackles were supposed to hold someone in place while this was all happening.
Okay, so there are 2 poles. There are shackles on them. Are these like shackles connected by chains connected to the pole, or are the shackles connected directly to the pole?
The shackle is connected directly to the pole.
Okay. And then there is an opening in the shackle that goes through the pole to the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a pointy thing, presumably
yes, the pole sort of like
to do pointy things to the part of the body held in the shackle.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're gonna walk over here, and we're going to give that body another prod. Is it juicy?
It is juicy. You can feel the flesh kind of flex under your finger as if there is.
Okay. So we're gonna kind of scoop the guts back into place and try to sort of tighten the belt around the middle. Wrap it tightly around there. See if we can keep them where they're supposed to be, so that we have both hands free in order to grab the like a limb on the body and try to haul it out of the box.
Strength check. All right, you try pretty hard, but this guy is a little overweight, and you are not very strong, so you're not making a lot of progress. You've got his head on the lip of the box, and it's not working out too well.
Well, we don't really need to like lift him or anything like that. We're just gonna try to roll him in the general direction. So kind of get up in there, kind of wedge a foot down under the head and lower back and just start scooching down under there until it props the body up, and then kind of shimmy a little bit until the body is propped a little more, and kind of tilt it until it starts to flop over the side.
All about leverage.
Okay, you are practicing the Benny Hill version of freeing someone from a coffin.
So I presume is this effect?
You have gotten his torso out of the box, and you're starting to get exhausted. You feel like I need a wisdom check from you first. Okay. You feel like there is a much easier way to do this than to try and manually pull him out of the box. And it has something to do with your weird purpley proboscis thing.
Okay, well, I'd catch my breath if that seemed to be a thing that was happening in this dream. Pause for a moment and kind of get a grip on the wiggly tongue and just kind of bop the corpse with it.
Okay. As you push it up against the corpse in the bopping sense, the pincers kind of instinctively latch on. You have this feeling that you should sort of like push against it with the tongue.
Well, can do.
Okay, so as you do that, you kind of feel like it's a very strange sensation, but you feel like part of you is going into it. It is very, very odd, and in the end, you can kind of sense what it senses in a strange way. It's not like you can see through the corpse's eyes, but all of a sudden you feel like the kind of cold stone around you, and like the flower petals up against your back, and all the things that are going on inside of that coffin. And then your purple proboscis-y part sort of retracts back into your mouth. And as that happens, the corpse kind of jumps to life and wheels itself around so that it can face you.
Well, all that happened, and it was, strange and organic and vaguely uncomfortable, and we just won't talk about how that. But fellow is standing.
He is like on his hands and knees, staring out the side of the box like a puppy in a car.
Okay, we'll give him a, wave hand in front of face, snap fingers.
It kind of groans at you. It does It does the.
The nightmare continues, but clearly the fellow is awake. So we're gonna point over to that altar dealy and say go.
It sort of does. It like crawls itself out of the box and kind of stands up to a hunch and like lurches towards the altar and climbs up onto it and kind of just stands there with its arms drooping as it faces the wall and doesn't do anything else.
Okay, so I'll just walk over next to it and kind of try to put its arms into the.
Okay. If you lift its arms and try to put them into the shackles, its arms just kind of like drop back to its sides. Like you finish one and then you let it go and you try to go to the other one and it just sort of drops back to its side again.
we'll try that a couple of times, and then seeing that he's not cooperating, once we kind of lift the arm into place, we will say, now keep your arm.
Ugh. As soon as you like pull your hand away, the arm just flops back down again. Give me another wisdom check. Sometimes you just gotta force things yourself. And you kind of know, like, you can make it do it if you want.
All right. Well, let's try thinking at it really.
Okay. As you start to focus on it, you can definitely, like, literally, like, when you try to lift your arm, you can feel it lift its arm and just put it on the shackle.
All right. So if I make it lift both of its arms into position, does anything?
They both remain in position.
All right. Well, mechanically, I don't know if this is possible, but can I make it keep doing that and try to close the shackles?
Right. So when you think about, like, okay, now I need to close the shackles, you start to see the arms sort of like, I mean, they stay where they are, but you feel like they're not going to stay there for very long.
Well, try to quickly close the shackles and then go back to kind of holding it in place.
Okay. When you try to close the shackles like go over the top, but the lock is broken, so it just kind of like lazily stays inside the shackle. And then when you pull the lever, which is what you said you were going to do next, right?
That is presumably what I would do next. Yes.
Okay. So when you pull the lever, the shackles, like, you hear a click, and then you see a piece of metal ram up through its wrists, and it makes a lot of noise, a lot of and then blood starts to trickle down the sides of those poles and into the sieves, and then pours down into the grate underneath its feet, and then starts to fill up the trough. And when the trough is full, it starts to climb up the sides of the wall until it's pouring into the bottom of the glass bauble. After the glass bauble is about half full, you hear a click.
All right. Well, let's go and give the door a nudge and see if it opens.
The door opens. At this point, the zombie that is now currently being drained of blood kind of collapses to its knees and just sort of falls over.
And am I able to make it come with me by just periodically kind of, mentally dragging it along?
As you are attempting to contact it mentally again, you don't really seem to be able to control it anymore.
Well, let's walk on over there and, jab it with the tongue.
It is very pale. There's not really any blood left in it. Looks like it kind of drained it a little more aggressively than the bauble probably needed, or the glass vial probably needed. And when you try to poke it with your proboscis again, you do not get the same feeling.
Mm. Oh well. This is strange and trippy, and maybe if we get it over with, then we can wake up to something less,
Something less what the fuck?
So let's head on down this hallway.
Okay. This hallway is very long. It is, again, covered in those white bleached stones. It'll go all the way up until you find another set of double doors that are closed, although the latch on one of them is visibly undone again.
Well, let's open that door too.
Okay. As you open this door, you see now 3 figures in this room. There is, yes, you see 3 figures in this room. We will say that is where this stops. As you step into the room. All right. Beauty.
See,
You come to in the middle of a. All right, so you can see, but your vision is sideways, and you can kind of see the floor. It's got these really nice, almost polished, bleached white stones, and the walls are similar, rounded, and you can kind of see a door from the position you're in, but you can't. Like, it's in your peripheral, and you can't really look that far to see the door itself.
first thing I do is reach up and grab my rib.
Okay, you attempt to grab for where your rib cage you think it is, and you just touched stone floor. And you feel like you're in a really awkward position, like you've been practicing yoga all day and got stuck in the wrong pose.
I look to see if I can see my hand.
You can see your hand. You can also see, like, well, you know it's your hand, but it's just bone. You can also see the radius and ulna that's attached to it, and you can also see the rest of the bones there too. But you can also see the joint, and it's not connected to anything. It is moving around though.
It's moving in the direction that I wanted it to move, like when I looked.
It seems like it is moving in a direction you would think it would move if you wanted it to move that way, yes.
I use my other hand to reach for that hand, like, as if my body were still intact.
Okay, and a skeletal hand kind of slaps you in the face in the process. You definitely felt your hand slam against the skull.
What the fuck? First thing I do is I look at the hand that I did not just hit myself with, and I try to make it like crawl its way over to my.
Okay. It takes you a little bit to get used to it, but you can kind of like manage to get it to pull itself in. It doesn't really crawl over to you. It's more like you're adjusting your shoulder, and it's just sort of responding by sliding into place where it should be.
So it connected?
You feel your shoulder connect, yes.
I try the same with the other arm, assuming it's not connected properly. This time using the hand that I just connected to help.
Okay. You very quickly manage to find that skeletal arm, and you don't even really have to try. You just like focus the same way you did on that hand, and it sort of like leads into the correct place. You are now looking. I mean, your head does not seem like it is attached in the same way, though. So, like, your arms have connected to something, but you can't see it from where you're at.
I'll pick up my head and put it on top of wherever my arms were.
Okay, so as you pick up your head, it kind of slides into place on its own. I mean, you're trying to guide it in the right place, but it seems like there's already an attraction to sort of like put it where it belongs. And now you are a torso with a head and arms. You can look down and see your rib cage, and you can also see your legs sort of like discombobulated, tangled up in front of you.
I'll if I need to scooch my body over, I'll do that with my arms, and then I will just sort of spend some time straighten out my legs and
It doesn't
connect
take
them.
much time. As soon as you start scooting towards them, they sort of like magnetize towards your body and connect themselves in the correct orientation.
Once I stand up, I'm gonna sort of wiggle, my joints around.
It is definitely a weird sensation to feel through bones and to, I mean, physically move around and see the moves where the bones move where your body should have. But part of it also seems like this is normal. You have somehow experienced this before.
I will, after I get adjusted back to my own body, I'll sort of look around the room.
The walls are very smooth stone in all directions, very polished and bleached, with the exception of one wall on the opposite end that has a single metal door.
Walk up. I'm gonna walk up to the wall, and I'm gonna like put my hand on the wall and touch it and see what if I can like feel through these bony fingers.
You can, in fact, feel through the bony fingers. It is a very strange sensation because it's not like it feels like it's touching your skin, but you can still tell there's a thing there. If you close your eyes, you can make out the contours, and you definitely know it's a thing. And you can even kind of feel that the room is cold, too. It's a very unusual experience.
Guess there's nowhere else to go but out, so then I'll head towards the door. I will push it open and I will just peek my head.
Okay. In peeking your head out the door, you see a long corridor that leads to a room with some what looks like wooden crates.
I'll step out of the room into the corridor, and then I'll head down towards the crates. And I'm going to.
Are you moving your token?
I can't see anything on.
You should be able to see something in the bottom left side.
No, it's just all black.
All right, hang on a second. There you go.
There you go. Now I can see.
Missed one of the 17 fucking esoteric checkboxes I have to click in order to get that to work right.
Yep. So I'll move over to one of these. I'm gonna look. I recognize them as coffins, right?
Yes, you do in fact recognize them as coffins.
Let's see if there's any names or anything on.
There are no names on these coffins.
I'll push a lid open.
Okay. This coffin, when you push it open, you kind of see like a sigil on the lid itself. For a moment, it flares and then it just sort of goes away, and you are now looking at a fairly fresh corpse. It looks like it maybe have died like a day ago or so. There's not a lot of care in making sure that it didn't, or that it was dressed correctly or anything, though. It just looks like it was sort of like haphazardly thrown into a box and carted this way.
I'll close up the lid again, and then leave it.
Okay.
I'm gonna look down at whatever the hell this is.
Okay. Give me a investigation check. Okay, looking down, you can see a metal grate. Looks like there's things in there a little further, but it's a little too dark for you to see in there clearly. You're not sure what's beyond those grates, but you can step on them and move around them, and they don't seem to cause any problems. They can definitely take your weight.
And I will walk across them to this door and try to push it open.
The door is locked, but you do see it's not a keyhole. It's just a cylindrical hole that leads into the door. You can't see through it, but there's clearly something going on that's a little janky with this door, and you feel like maybe that is supposed to take something like a key, but you don't know what it is.
I'm going to open up some of these other coffins, and I'm going to start with this bottom one.
Okay, two of them are empty. One of them has the corpse that's relatively new. One of them that looks like it's got still some flesh kind of hanging off of it, but there's like maggots crawling around on it, and it's clearly seen better days. And there's one that looks like it is bleached bones that have been there for a very, very long time.
First thing I'm going to do is I feel compulsed to mess with these bones.
Okay,
And see
how are
if
you going to mess with the bones?
I'm going to pull off one of the arms, and I'm going to see if I can attach it underneath one of my arms.
It is longer than your bones are, but when you like pull off the arm, the moment you grab onto it, the rest of the arm sort of seems to stay intact. And as you pull it in, like all the other bones that would be attached if they had muscles, stay attached to it in some weird way. And then when you put it in place, it just kind of like dangles there by the side of your body.
Can I move it?
It does, in fact, respond to your thoughts, yes.
All right. Then I'm going to take the other arm and do that to the other side.
Okay, you now have 4 arms. The 2 underneath of your normal arms are longer than the ones that are on the above.
I feel like this should be reversed, so I'm going to take off the bottom arms and replace them with the top arms, and then vice versa. The longer ones are on top.
Okay. So you now have shorter arms dangling below bigger arms.
Do I see any keys? Like anything that looks like it would fit in that keyhole? A skeleton key, perhaps?
You do not see any keys that look like it would fit in that keyhole. And no quote unquote skeleton key.
All right, I'm gonna try. Can I lift up this? Try to lift up this.
Lift the grate?
Yeah.
No, the grate is sunk into the floor, and there is stones that sort of overlap the edges of it. But the holes in the grate are fairly large.
I'm going to get on my hands and knees and try to look into the hole.
Okay. Give me another investigation check. Or this one could be perception check. Whichever one you prefer. Okay. So looking down into this grate, you see the skeletons of lots of things that aren't as cleanly human looking as the things in the coffins. It looks like this is it almost looks like this is some sort of repository for like vermin that they found laying around inside of this place. There's rat bones down there, and some what look like turtles maybe, and just weird little things, and a very large cobra skeleton that is wrapped around a couple of the others.
Can I reach in there?
You can't quite reach in there with your full hand, but you can kind of like if you were to push your fingers down into there, you could probably like graze the edge of the bones.
I'm gonna try to graze the edge of the cobra skeleton and see if I can move that with my my fancy magic power.
Okay, which hand are you using to do this with?
I'll use my left hand. My
Oh,
long left hand.
Okay, your taller left hand or your longer left hand. Okay, that's the only one that could really reach. So you kind of like push it down in there, and you start wiggling your fingers up against it. And when you do, the index finger of the long hand falls off, and the cobra attaches itself to that part of the hand.
That's new.
And so when you pull your hand back out of the grates, you have one really, really long finger that's like 3 feet long.
Okay, so then I'm going to pull my cobra finger out of the grate, and I'm going to.
It's very strange because you can bend like each one of the joints in the cobra finger independently, and it is like, man, you've never been this dexterous before in your life.
It's already gone in a weird direction. I'm going to see if I can put the cobra into the.
Okay, so you angle the tail of the cobra up into the hole and just sort of like start feeding it in, I take it?
Yeah. See
Okay.
if I can feel anything on the other side of the hole with this super dexterous.
All right, it is a very smooth hole that is bored into the door, and you can kind of feel the edges of it, and it winds and twists its way around inside the door in a very odd fashion. How far are you going to push the snake in?
Guess as far as it'll go.
Okay.
As far as I can.
As you continue to go, you must have fed like 2.5 feet of this thing into the door until eventually you come up against what feels like a little lever. It's like a little toggle switch that's on the far end of this thing.
Click it or like switch if I
Okay.
can.
When you slick it, you hear the like door click.
Pull my finger out.
Okay. You pull the long snake finger all the way back out again.
Try to push the door open now.
The door slides open.
I'm going to have my long finger, instead of it like I guess dangling down on the floor, I'm going to have it sort of go up and wrap around me until I need it again.
Okay. All right. As soon as you step through the door, you feel something sort of pull at you from that grate, like it is trying to suck you back into the grate. You put your feet down, sort of instinctively, to just not get sucked in like a fucking weenie. And as soon as that happens, all of the bones that you've gathered from that room kind of disconnect themselves and roll back into the room, including the extra long snake finger and the 2 arms.
Do I get my original finger?
You already had your original finger. You used the extra long arm finger to do it. So you still have 2 fully fingered hands. But they are attached to your chest in a weird way now.
Do I know what happened? Like why that happened?
You do not know why that happened.
I'm gonna try to go back and see if I can pull those like arms out of the room.
Okay.
Like with well, first I'm gonna take my right arm off and put it into a regular and
Okay.
then vice versa to my left, so I have like actual arms, and then I'm gonna just see if I can grab them, just try to like force them out of.
Okay. As soon as you try to pull those arms out of the room, you see like the grate. There is clearly some sort of like black smoke or something coming from the grate that starts to pull on them. It's very weak right now, but you can definitely feel that there is like a force tugging them.
I'm gonna pull harder and
Okay, as soon as you start to step away, the force that's applied to the arms gets a little tougher.
I'm gonna try to tug of war this out of the things or whatever shadow.
Okay, how far are you going to take it?
I guess keep going back.
Okay, it keeps getting stronger. I'm going to need strength checks. Okay, you
Oh,
immediately
boy.
lose your grip on the arms and they just flop back down and roll into the room again.
Well, fine, keep your damn hand. I'll leave. Defeated.
Okay. This is a very long corridor that is smooth stone just like the rest. At the end, there is a metal door.
I'm gonna try to push this door open.
The door opens and you feel compelled to step into the next room. Alright, we'll come back to you. Dear Henrik.
Yes.
Henrik awakens inside of a circular room with very nice polished bleached stones on all sides and two double doors on the opposite end of the room from him. You have the strange memories of your past life. They're hazy, but you do distinctly remember some small characteristics of them. It's very hard to remember, though.
But I remember how I died.
You do distinctly remember the moment that you died, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna immediately reach and grab for my neck.
Okay, you reach for your neck. You do not feel anything out of place on your neck, but it does feel a little more muscular than it used to be.
Okay. Well, I definitely remember dying. I guess I'm gonna kind of do like a pat down on my body. Do I have anything new or anything that's not mine or?
Everything that you're wearing is nothing that you would have worn before. It is all new and strange.
Okay. I'm gonna do another look around the room. Is it just all white walls and the doors?
It is all white walls and the doors. There's nothing else distinct about this room. It's dry and cold.
Well, this must be a shitty version of the afterlife, I guess. Uh, let's go check the door. Is the door open?
The door is not, or the door is open. I mean, you can open it. It's not open. It's unlocked.
All right, I'm gonna open the door.
You do so. What you look into in the next room is a room that appears to have a stone door, and that's it.
Huh. So the afterlife's just full of a bunch of doors.
Very boring afterlife.
A very boring white stoned walled afterlife. I'm gonna check this door.
Okay. As you attempt to fiddle with that door, you realize that it is in fact locked. Can I give a perception check?
Sure.
There does not seem to be any sort of like keyhole or lock mechanism in the door.
Why is it asking me if I want to whisper, roll, or public roll? That's new.
Yeah, just do public. Okay. Upon entering the room, you notice two distinct things. On either side of this door, there were holes in the wall. They were circular holes that were, probably big enough for you to fit like your leg through. They're pretty wide. On one side of the room that you are standing in, there is a handle that is sticking out of the door or out of the wall. It's like whatever it's attached to is embedded in the wall. It doesn't appear to be a lever or anything though, and there are like slats above the wall on either side of the wall, or above either of those holes on either side of the door, that look like they're kind of like long wooden slats that have a pair of little prongs on them.
So there's 2 holes with wooden slats that have prongs on them and a handle?
And a handle sticking out of one of the walls, yes. The wall on your left.
Alright, I want to go look at the handle.
Okay. Investigation check.
Okay.
Okay. You notice that there's sort of like there's some silver filigrees on the handle itself, and it looks like the handle literally leads into the wall. Whatever it is attached to is metallic. You can see just a little bit of it before it goes into the wall.
Okay, I'm gonna pull at the handle.
Okay. You grab the handle, and as you start to pull, you hear it sort of like grind a little bit, but you withdraw a fairly long scimitar.
Okay. Alright, well, I got a sword. I'm gonna go look at the wood slats now with the prongs.
Okay. You look up at these prongs, the wood slats. It looks like, in your investigation, you could, continuing on with that train of thought, you can see that the handle looks like it would fit in one side, and the blade would fit in the bigger prongs on the other side. So it is sort of like a trophy mount.
Alright, I want to put the sword in on the mount then.
Okay, so you put the sword up on the mount. The only way that it'll really seem to fit right is if you put it in there with the blade facing down, so you sort of like adjust it a little bit and slide it into place, and then when you finally actually get it to like line up enough that you can push them into the prongs, you hear a click, and the wooden slat just sort of like sinks into the wall, and a stone block drops down to cover it.
Okay.
So now the wall looks like the rest of the wall, except for the hole.
Except for the hole in the wall.
Yes, the hole below that wooden slat is still there.
Okay, I'm gonna look in the slat. Or, well, in the hole.
Okay, you are looking inside the hole. You see what looks like a little bit of trash within view, but you can't really see all the way in there. I mean, like, are you going to try and like peek in and really see what's going on in that room entirely, or are you just casually looking in there?
I'm just kind of like casually looking in there.
Okay, you see looks like some trash, maybe some like old rusted tools, and like maybe some wooden pieces and things like that.
Okay, I'm gonna try and grab for the tools.
Okay, so you're going to put your arm through the hole?
Yeah.
Okay. As you start to reach through the hole and you slide your arm all the way through, you realize you're not going to be able to reach anything that is there. That's all sort of on the floor, and you're probably about 3 feet away from the nearest piece of junk.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna pull my hand back out then.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to the door and attempt to force it open.
It is still locked. Give me a strength check.
Okay.
All right. You think you're making some purchase on this door, but it does not move. I mean, it just, like, every time you feel like you're getting further, because you are just balls to the wall pushing on this thing, it just slides right back into place again.
Okay. So there's only the hole in the wall in this door. Correct?
Mhm. Correct.
The sword vanished.
There are 2 holes in the wall, one on either side of the wall, or one on either side of the door. And there's now 1 wood slat with the little prongs on it above the other hole, and then, yes, there's the 2 holes.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go look at the other wood slat in the hole.
Okay. You see a bunch of stuff that's just kind of like scattered around the floor. Can I get a perception check?
Okay.
Okay. You are sort of peering through this thing, and you're looking at a bunch of junk, but you can't really make out what the junk is. I mean, it's clearly like there's pieces of metal sticking out and pieces of wood and things like that, but you're having a really hard time seeing it through this hole with the given distance, and you get the impression you need to get a closer look at this stuff.
Okay. I am. Is there. Can I fit my head through the hole?
You cannot fit your head through the hole.
Okay.
Give me a wisdom check.
Like a save or a check?
A check.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. So as you're sitting here thinking about how it is that you could possibly get a closer look through this hole, sort of instinct kicks in, and you just you kind of like lean your head down and you slap your hand against your head, and your eye rolls out into your hand. And you are now looking back up at yourself and looking down at your eye at the same time.
Okay, I'm gonna freak the fuck out. For a couple minutes. And then I guess maybe I'll think that's normal in the afterlife.
I mean, it does feel like this is okay. This is normal. You've felt this before somehow, but you're not sure how.
Okay, well, this is the afterlife. I guess anything is possible. I'm gonna stick my hand through the hole with the eye in it.
Okay. You are now closer to the pile of junk. And as you're looking over the pile of junk, give me a perception check. Okay, you are still too freaked out by what's going on to really notice the other thing, but you do notice that there is a key in the middle of the pile of junk that's just kind of like sticking out.
Okay, how far is the key?
Oh, it's in the middle of that room, so it's probably a good 10 feet away from you.
Okay, I am going to pull my hand back and put my eye back in the head. Or actually, no, I won't put my eye back in my head yet. I guess I'm gonna go up to the other hole.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put my hand through with the eye over there.
Okay, another perception check.
Oh my god.
All right. You actually dropped your eye.
Shit.
Yeah, the moving from one room to the other and being able to see 2 completely different things was disorienting, and you just kind of like dropped your eye on the floor.
Okay.
So it sort of like rolled a little bit, But from the position that it's in, you can see two things. One, you can see that there is definitely a keyhole on the door from this side, and the other is that there are levers next to the holes on the other side of the wall.
Okay. Can I?
Probably even within reaching distance of your arm.
Yeah. I'm gonna, I guess, with my left hand, put it through the hole and grab the lever.
Okay. As you grab a hold of the lever, you kind of feel that it has a little bit of give. Are you going to pull the lever?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the lever.
All right. As you pull the lever, you hear like grinding gears the more you pull on it, and then eventually you hear a click, and then the scimitar slides across the hole and cuts your arm off.
Holy shit, I'm gonna freak out again. Clutching where my arm was. Does it
That's-
hurt?
It did not hurt, weirdly enough.
Okay, so is this all
as
like
that
mental
happened,
pain?
as that happened, as the sword like sliced through your arm, you saw like a trail of black follow it, and your arm seems to like nothing seems to be bleeding. And you feel that sort of like black fog that followed it, just sort of like grabbing onto the joint from both ends to just sort of like keep everything from bleeding out.
Well, the afterlife is getting very, very weird. I guess I'm gonna. Can I move my arm where I was, like the eye was working?
You can definitely move your fingers, and you can feel them touching the ground now.
Can my eye see my hand?
Your eye can barely see like your hand out of the corner. It's very peripheral, but you can see it moving around.
Okay. All right. Can my hand crawl to where the key is?
You give me an intelligence check.
Man.
All right. So you try to get your hand to crawl in the direction you think the key is in, but eventually your hand just sort of like starts rubbing up against like pieces of wood and metal, and you're trying to guide it around, but you can't tell where it is. It's sort of like it's almost getting itself stuck inside of like the pile of junk.
Okay. I'm gonna walk to the other hole.
Okay.
And I'm gonna look through that hole. Can I see my hand?
You can see your hand. You overshot quite a bit. You are
Oh,
now
God.
stuck in the pile on the far side of the room.
Alright, can I see the key from where I am? Or is my other eye focused on the key?
You cannot see the key from where you are, and the other eye cannot see the key from where it is.
Okay.
It is just out of your view.
Alright, can I have my hand go grab my other eye?
Yes, you carefully like pull your hand out of the junk. You have it sort of like thing its way across, or cousin thing its way
I
across
think
the
it's
room.
thing.
I think it's thing. You have it sort of like cousin thing its way across the room, dragging the stump of an arm along with it.
Thing is
Until-
the hand.
Yes, thing. So then you get to the other side, and you can like you'll have to switch holes, but you kind of like see where the eyeball is, and you get the arm to crawl up on there and grab onto the eyeball, and then you can kind of like bend the elbow and have it like a turret and just sort of like look around.
Alright, I'm scanning the room for the key now.
Okay, key's sticking up out of the pile of junk still. You can kind of see where it is. You could probably put your eye down and then crawl the arm over in that direction.
Well, first is my... There's a lever by this hole, right?
There is a lever by that hole.
Alright, well... Seeing this happen the first time, I'm gonna put my other arm through this hole
Okay.
and pull the lever.
As you attempt to pull the lever, the gears grind, or like the gears will turn a little bit, but then they kind of lock up, and you hear the sound above your head where the other metal or the other wooden plaque is, sort of like jiggle, like it's blocking the way.
Okay. All right. I guess I'm gonna set my eye down, with its like line of sight with the key,
Okay.
and have my arm crawl to the key.
Okay. You could manage to do that. Your arm sort of like weaves its way through the pile of junk and crawls up onto the pile and grabs the key.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take the key and put it in the lock.
Oh,
Long enough
okay.
to get up to the lock.
Okay. I need an intelligence check out of you.
Dude,
Okay.
this is the curse of rolling good.
You start like trying to angle the arm back towards the door, and it moves for a while and moves out of the sight of the eye, and then it just sort of like butts up against stone, and you're not sure where it is anymore.
Oh man. And the keyhole is on the other side of the door, right?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, well, I'm going to put the key down right where it is, and then navigate to my eye.
I need another intelligence check. Okay, you catch yourself before you drop the key in a place where you can't see it anymore, and you realize, like, I should probably just hold on to the key.
Okay.
But you kind of like edge yourself along the stone and then try to like navigate your way back the way you think you came. And your hand kind of surfaces on the pile. You can see it and the little key it's holding on to, but that's about it. It's actually within visual range of both of your eyes now.
Okay. Can I pick my eye up and the key?
You do not feel like you would have enough fingers to pull that off.
Okay. Can I angle the other eye so it's looking at the door?
You could move your hand back over there and do that. Yes.
Okay. I want to angle the eye so it's looking at the door, and then send my hand back to the door.
Okay, you managed to do that.
Alright, now I'm going to try to open the lock again.
Okay. It takes you a little while, but you realize you can kind of like pull your bicep up so that the bottom of it sets on the floor, and then you can straighten out the arm and just barely reach the keyhole. And you can slide it in and turn the key, and you hear a click.
Awesome. I am going to open the door.
You are now standing in front of your disembodied arm.
Can I pick the arm up?
I mean, do you allow yourself to pick up your
Yeah,
arm?
I'm gonna pick my arm up.
Okay.
And I guess hold on to it, and then go pick my eye up.
Okay.
And
Can I get a wisdom check?
Okay.
Okay, you have no idea what's going on then. Alright, so you pick up your eye.
Yep. Can I put my eye back in my head?
Sure.
Alright, I'm gonna push my eye back in my head.
Okay, you push your eye back in your head. It's dark at first, but then like you blink a few times and it sort of like adjusts itself to be forward facing again.
Okay. Are there any like I don't know, like a staple gun or something in these piles of tools?
Staple gun. There's no staple guns in this world.
Like,
There are there's like wrenches and hammers and things, and you could like probably run a screwdriver through your arm or something like that. But It seems like that would be really haphazard to keep your arm attached.
Alright, well, I'm just gonna hold on to the arm then.
How are you going to hold on to the arm?
Underneath the other arm.
Okay.
Are there any tools here that look like they could be like weapons, or are they all like super rusty and not worthwhile?
They're all super rusty and probably not worthwhile. I mean, the wood here is all rotted and splintered, and everything looks like junk.
Alright, I'm gonna go down the hallway then and see what's going on. Afterlife really shitty so far.
Okay.
Don't think I did anything too bad to deserve this. Am I hungry?
You do not feel any particular hunger, no.
That's very interesting. Alright, I'm gonna push on this door.
The door slides open,
Oh.
and you step out into a chamber full of people and things that look like they should be people but aren't quite people. All right. All of you are now standing in a room with someone that is in the middle of the room. She is a very tall, eloquently dressed woman, taller than probably any person you've ever met before. She has a very pale purple skin with white hair and sort of pointy ears, and she has a dress on that is very elaborate. It's clearly magical in some nature because it's got glowing bits on it. And she is standing on an elevated area in this room. It's not elevated by a lot, probably only a few inches. But inside of that, you can see there's sort of like, it almost looks like a cauldron of this sort of white mist that's pouring down into the center of it. But you can't see where the mist is coming from or where it's going. It's just sort of always flowing towards the center and always radiating from the extremes. She seems to be casually just looking at all of you.
Wait, so do I see everybody else?
You see everybody else. Everybody sees you.
I'm gonna
Everything-
freak.
everybody
the
sees
fuck
everybody.
out. Never
'Kay.
heard of the afterlife having all manner of creatures.
Sort of sit there, look around the group. Oh, hi, my name's Rigby.
I will
Okay.
casually grasp the squirmy tongue tendril and give everybody a little wave with it. Hello, Ratman, Boney. You with the bits?
Henrik is gonna like back up against the wall. Really confused at what the fuck's going on.
I assume that Clotho would be doing the same, so I'm going to move her to the corner of the wall, and she's going to stay silent because she's too shocked to do anything.
He and Clotho have been there for quite a while. Like, what's
You have not been there for quite a while. This all happened pretty simultaneously.
Okay, great. Would I remember my name?
You remember bits and pieces of your history, including the name that you had when you were alive.
Okay, so I don't. So Samuel hasn't come into being yet. Okay. What? What? I'm Tristan. Where am I? What? What are you?
Who is he speaking to?
Just taking a look at Rigby first, because he looked. He sounded friendly, and then the guy who's next to him is totally disgusting looking, with the proboscis type tongue being waved, I think. And yeah, he's kind of like got Henrik's idea and the other one like, but he's like wants answers. So he's looking at like, where are we? What's going on?
I don't know. The last thing I remember is being stabbed and then waking up in a room, a bunch of bones. But it feels right.
I look almost imploringly at the lady on the little platform. Ma'am, please.
Please? She sort of perks up a little bit.
What is this? And then make a gesture at like the rest of the room and the rest of the party. What foul nightmare have we come across or stumbled upon to?
She sort of lets out a sigh and rolls her eyes. Ah, is this really truly how you thank someone for such a gift? You know, it wasn't easy making you all.
Making us? Isn't this the afterlife?
Oh, poor thing. No, this is not the afterlife. This is the unlife.
Is that what they're calling it? Because I have to say, top notch stuff. Um, little strong, little. I mean, the Rat
Okay.
Man, very impressive, very impressive. This tongue thing, waggles it around, and some of the bowels spill down a pant leg. Um, all very realistic. I am impressed. Maybe not street ready. Maybe you should have worked on it.
Hmm. It took a great deal of planning and preparation for something like this to occur. I don't think that's very accurate assessment of just how marvelous this gift truly is. And he will kind of look back to, or she will kind of look back to Tristan. Unfortunately, your predicament, well, it's favorable to the alternative, let me say. She sort of begins to pace a little bit as she thinks.
I came across a book on my way here. It it seemed familiar. Are you D?
Am I D? She kind of puts a hand to her chest and contemplates for a moment. Oh, no. He is quite the character. Interesting indeed. But he is not me.
Hey, so what was the deal with not being able to take the bones back there? How come they seemed magnetized to that room?
She'll ignore Rigby for the moment, but she'll kind of like squat down in front of Tristan and give him a look. I think you would probably be much more closely acquainted with D than I, but I'll let you sort out the details of that relationship. And she kind of stands up and you get the feeling she's probably right, actually. Like, you feel like you know D, probably better than you remember. Then she will come over to Rigby and sort of pull her dress aside a little bit so she can lean down and give him a look. This place is well constructed for maintaining itself. Time may not have been as kind to it as as it was designed to sustain, but there are reasons for that, and unfortunately for you, it seems its want to keep its parts in its places is a little higher than you're currently able to endure.
please, just none of this is making any sense. Just tell us what's going on. I'm starting
You're
to sound
all
like fucking
dead?
Kirk.
I don't see what the mystery is. You've all passed. You've all died. And you've all been given life again. Or, well, unlife again.
Why?
Oh, because I have great purposes for you. As do many. But mine the most important, of course.
Why us? I can't think of a reason anybody would have ever picked me.
Oh, your humility aside, I'm quite certain you'll find that you are capable of much more than you were in your life. And plenty for my needs.
What, what would you have us do?
No, nothing particularly showy for now. I would really just prefer that you tried to unravel a few of the mysteries of who you are and why you're here. I'm sure that's probably something you're eager to do at this point, is it not?
Yes.
What do you mean, who we are?
Well, you certainly don't remember dying with the ability to lose limbs and simply reattach them by pushing them where they belong. Did you have that experience in your life?
No, not at all.
Maybe you should give it a try.
I guess I'm gonna try and push my arm back to where it would belong.
It takes a second, but the sort of shadowy threads that were keeping the blood inside sort of like thread themselves back into the skin, and the stitches sort of pull the limb together, and then they seal up, and your arm is attached again.
Why do I need to be able to do this?
Would you prefer that they just remained unattached and you were forever lost a limb?
No, but
Very well, then. Perhaps asking so many questions in the face of such a gift is truly unnecessary.
okay.
She will sort of turn around and raise her arms in a sort of a shrugging gesture. Unfortunately, I only have so much power to remain. I'm going to have to leave, but it is good to know that all of you have passed your tests, though woefully insufficient as they are for my standards. I will be leaving, but you should all know that, well, the outside world is waiting with many mysteries for you to uncover.
What is the state of the outside world?
Oh, very different from what you remember. Remarkably different, in fact, but, well, I don't want to spoil everything now, do I?
How long has it been since, well, I was human?
She'll sort of put a finger to her lips to shush him. Spoilers.
What are spoilers?
Then she will kind of move over to Tristan and give him a look. You'll all do fine, but just to be sure you're headed on the right track, you should probably go and see the Verdant Spire. It's changed quite a bit from the last time you guys saw it. Well, the last you've heard of it, anyways.
Yeah, I never saw it before.
Indeed. But there is someone there that, well, there's something there that will put you on the right track for sure.
How do we make our way there?
She sort of gestures towards the corridor that leads to the north. The same way anyone else would. You'll just have to walk, I'm afraid.
I look toward the others and I'd be like, I don't think we're getting much else in the way of answers.
You usually don't. This is the part where everything is very cryptic and strangely meaningful, and then we'll wake up and we'll have written about sandwich. And I'm sure you're like a dog or something. Don't stress about it.
She audibly laughs at that. Oh, I'm afraid this is a dream that's going to continue for quite some time.
You will not be the first supernaturally giant woman that has said that to me, madam.
Sounds interesting. You'll have to tell me where you got such delightful drinks at some point. Perhaps there's still some of it about. But, unfortunately, I have to take my leave, so best of luck, you all.
Your name, ma'am, before you go?
She will pause as you ask and kind of stop for a moment. It seems like she was going to say something, but then she sort of tilts her head a little bit and looks back at you. My name is Fade.
I have a male OC character whose name's Fade from Dune. Now we roll to play him right the same way again. God damn it!
As she says her name, ironically, she fades away. I assume you guys all get to see that handout.
Yes.
Yep.
God damn, she's a looker.
Well then, Henrik is just gonna start leaving.
I kind of like look horrified at the others, but coming to grips with everything.
As he's doing that, Strandheim will like loosen the belt at his waist and have the bowels spill out again, so that he can scoop them up into the backpack that he has detected that he has been wearing, and just wasn't paying attention. Just kind of sling them up over the back, through the tatters in the clothes, and just kind of pile them up all squirmy.
I want you to know that feels very uncomfortable, not unlike having a pair of like whitey tighties that are way too tight and they're just hugging your junk right up against it. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't a natural feeling.
This will require some shifting as that it sort of like, wriggles loose of that and spills back over until eventually he's just sort of like draped in them.
Yeah,
All right.
at that point, Tristan Sema, whatever the fuck his name is just walking away.
So as you're trying to figure out where to put these organs that have sort of spilled out everywhere, you kind of feel like they're actually sort of starting to grab onto your bones and kind of hold themselves in place. Like maybe they're starting to wake up.
There we go. That'll do.
All right.
Shamble on out of here.
All right. So you all shamble on out. As you guys step out, we're going to have to... I don't have a map for this because it's not important right now, but basically you guys step out into... you're standing on what looks like a long bridge that leads through a cavern, and on the other side you can see there is a somewhat bright light, like daylight. On all sides, however, even though it's pitch black, you can still see through it, and you can see what looks like a dilapidated city.
Is a bridge in a cave over something, or
Yes, it is over Fade's necropolis.
It looks like a dilapidated city underneath us. Is what?
Yep. What you are standing on is a bridge that extends through this cavern. On all sides of the cavern are basically doorways that look similar to the one that you have little stairways or little pathways that lead to the same massive bridge that you're moving towards. And all of them lead towards the out. Except that the one that you came out of specifically has a symbol over it that none of the others do. They have other symbols that look very sinister, like one of them looks like a skull, one of them looks like a very curved sort of Chris style blade.
the
One
other
of
one's like a
them-
curved sort of crystal blade through a skull with like razor wire around?
Yeah,
it?
exactly. You're getting the feeling. But the one that you came out of actually looks like an Ankh. It is the only one that does not look sinister or evil in any way.
We must be the good undead.
So we all have like backpacks and stuff with us that we just didn't realize before.
You had all the gear that you had when you performed character creation.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm gonna add really snazzy vampire suit to my list.
You had fine clothes, basically. Are you going to follow this gigantic bridge?
Yeah.
The bad trip continues, so might as well roll with it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna just be walking towards the light.
Okay. It appears as though there are no ways to get down to the city proper from here. Perhaps this is meant to be like a separate thing from the city itself, but yeah, it's pretty much always leads to chambers like the one that you came from, or at least the doorways that look very similar to the chambers like the one you came from, and just that one thing on the other end. And as you get closer to it, you realize that it is in fact daylight streaming into this thing, and you're sort of at an incline. Like you are climbing upwards a little bit.
How's daylight affecting me?
It is making you uncomfortable.
Do I have in my vampire attire a cloak, hood, something I can
You
cover
have
myself with?
you do not have any sort of cloak hood.
I stick to the shadows as much as possible, but will stop when the sunlight gets too, painful.
Okay, you kind of stick behind somebody that's a little bit bigger, like Henrik, somebody that'll actually provide shade, unlike Rigby. You stand behind them. You guys get about 120 feet down the corridor until Clotho vanishes.
I'm gonna look behind me. Where did she go?
Of all the mysteries that we've encountered so far, suddenly disappearing seems to be right up.
Yeah, I don't think my character would care. Doesn't know any of these people. Just wants answers. Thought he
But
was dead.
yeah, but I'm gonna take a look around to see if I notice any traces. Like I say that, but I'm looking around.
Okay, you are looking around, and in the distance, back in the room that you guys came from, you see Clotho standing there in the room, and I'm gonna metagame a little bit here and say that she's like, hello, help.
I'll shamble on back over to where she. What do you need help with?
She'll gesture towards her little glass goblet. I think I need somebody to take that with them.
Pick it up.
Okay, so the skeleton picks up the glass goblet.
Guess I'll put put it in my backpack.
Okay, you put it in your backpack.
'Cause the
Somewhere
pic-
with like cloth.
no,
Like,
she had to pick the material that's like super fragile. Thanks.
I'll put it like cloth around it, like
I mean, I realized that she was the first one that came out, but that thing can sustain incredible amounts of damage and still exist. It is a cursed object. There's nothing that can break it. She threw it against stone blocks earlier, so there's no fear of that.
Then I will just put it in my backpack.
Okay. It sits in your backpack, and Clotho now can sort of follow along with the group if you decide to keep going.
Continue up back with the rest of the group.
Okay, you all catch up pretty quickly. Everybody's sort of going on that incline. You guys, I mean, this thing goes on for like a mile underground. It is a huge, huge stone bridge. And you can walk for a very long time before the sun starts to even like tingle a little bit. It is uncomfortable to stand in, but it only just seems to like make your skin, makes like the hairs on your skin stand on end.
So,
Okay.
where are you guys all from? Before this.
Do we remember
Belgrade.
where we were from?
Yeah, you remember where you're from. Like I say, you remember that you had an old life. You remember bits and pieces of it, and enough to remember who you were, and probably feel very uncomfortable in the body you're in. But yeah, no, you absolutely remember a lot of that.
Henrik would respond in turn as well then and say Belgrade as well.
Well, it only makes sense that you're all from Belgrade. And this is whether or not everybody said that they were from Belgrade. Because I was from Belgrade, and you're all just figments of my imagination brought on by some sort of chemical concoction passed off as an alcoholic beverage.
You guys, any of you know Phil, the baker from the west side?
No one remembers Bill or Phil.
Kill him first.
He dies first, yes. You gotta remember, Belgrade, I imagine, is big too. So just because we're all from there doesn't mean we're all like next door neighbors or something.
What are you talking about? You're from America. You know other Americans.
No harm in asking if you know somebody from the same.
Right? No, I know.
Okay, so you guys continue on this bridge for quite some time until you are basically standing at the mouth of it. It took you about a half an hour to get here, but now you're standing at the mouth of this entrance. There is direct sunlight shining down on Tristan, and it's uncomfortable. It even burns a little bit on your skin, like you feel like you're getting a really bad sunburn, but it does not cause you any points of damage for the purposes of mechanics.
Yeah, I try keeping as much exposed skin tucked away and stuff like that. And since I don't have any hood or whatever, I'm looking around for things I can use for the time being.
You just see the stone bridge. There's nothing around.
Oh fuck. Okay. So Baldy's gonna get a sunburn. It's gonna be greater.
Okay. You step out onto the mouth of this thing and look down, and you've seen stairs that lead down a little bit, but they sort of like are picked up off the ground as if you are in a tilted location. When you step out of this and onto the stairs, if you look around, you see what looks like a pretty big valley that sort of like wraps around in front of you. There are mountains on all sides and a forest that sort of like leads between the mountains. And behind you, you can see embedded in the side of a mountain is a pyramid that looks like maybe it doesn't belong there, like it crashed there or something. Part of it is sunk into the ground, and a lot of it has been damaged or broken off. And there's lots of very polished white bricks that have sort of collapsed beside it and rubble that lead down to the ground. But you are about 150 feet off of the ground.
So wait, are we coming out of the crashed pyramid, or
Yes.
it is nearby and visible?
Yes, you are coming out of the crashed pyramid.
We're
Okey-doke.
emerging from Nextramus. This is great. I'm giving the play-by-play to Jorah. She is blowing up my phone as we speak.
Oh, I'm recording it.
Yep.
So she could listen to everything that happened.
Oh, bless your heart. I could tell her you're doing that so she can leave me.
Yeah. It's the Chronicles of Riddick.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're coming out of the pyramid.
You're coming out of the pyramid. You are looking down very far. It looks like a cliff, basically, that was formed by the corner of this pyramid.
Is there a safe way down, like stairs etched in the pyramid or something?
These stairs end about 15 feet in front of you, and the stairs are tilted up, so they're clearly not leading down to the ground. So no, there's no clear way to get down from here.
Okay. So there's no clear way to get down.
It is pretty much a sheer cliff. In fact, it's not even a sheer cliff because the point of the pyramid that you are coming out of is pushed up off the ground, so it literally like recedes underneath of you towards the mountain.
I try that earlier trick that I learned and see if I can transform into a mist and see if do that too.
You try to focus on that D character and think about him, but nothing really seems to come of it. You know that there has to be something around you that sort of reminds you of him or is connected to him or something of that nature that you can focus on, and there's just none of that around.
I'm gonna start climbing down.
Okay, I need to ask, how are you going to try and climb down? That's a good question.
I mean, I have some rope and some pitons. Well, I have about 50 feet of rope and some pitons, so I
Okay.
guess I'm going to. Well, you said we're 150 feet up off the ground, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
I also have rope.
Okay, well,
That's 100 feet.
yeah, I'm gonna look in my pack for rope and whatever else I have to get acquainted with what I own currently. And then I'm gonna ask everybody else if they have some rope.
Hand over my rope.
Look through my bag and I find some rope and give it.
Okay.
Alright, so now we have 150 feet of rope, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
And I am going to start climbing down and putting pitons in roughly every 15 feet.
Okay. First, I need a proficiency climbing, like a proficiency with climbing tools. If you don't have that, then we will just go with a proficiency or a dexterity check.
Yeah, I don't have those at all.
Dexterity check. All right. So you push the pittons down in between some of the stone blocks, and then you throw your tied together, lashed together ropes over the edge, and you loop the rope on one end through a couple of the pittons, and then you sort of like tie it off so that it feels like it's a little sturdy, and then you kind of slowly start to edge your way around the corner, um, and as you're sort of like starting to unravel a little bit of the rope, the pittons give way, and you just fall.
Okay.
So you fall 150 feet. You do not land on your head, but you are shattered for far more hit points than we need to roll dice for.
Okay.
You drop to 0 hit points.
Okay.
And now all of the rope has pooled around your currently incapacitated body.
Well, that's fun.
Look over the edge. Oh, geez.
Let me try to get a grasp on the scene again. So we were walking on a bridge that seemed to be an upward incline as we were traveling,
Yes.
and now we have emerged out into the world through the side of this pyramid.
Yes.
And the pyramid is sort of canted so that it's not a slope. It's like straight up and down, or it's tilted.
No, it's
so that-
it's tilted so it's a slope.
okay.
Basically, more than half of the pyramid is currently like sunk into the ground beneath it. You are in the little teapot. You know how you got the slant of the teapot part there. That part is like sticking up out of the ground, and you're standing on the tip of it.
Okay, so the spout of the teapot.
Yes. Yes, the spout of the teapot. You are standing
Okay.
on the spout of the pyramid.
I'm not sure that pyramid thinks what you mean it.
There's a little bit of a pyramid on the underside.
Okay, so it's a pyramid with sort of like this little
Counter pyramid on the other side.
aperture kind of like
Yes.
sticking out.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what we're climbing down from. Is this thing that's like,
It's the corner of the
protruding out.
pyramid that is protruding out of the ground. Yes.
Okay.
I look at the nails, the claw-like nails I have,
Mm-hmm.
and for the sake of it, I run it across the stonework.
You scrape it or loss across the stonework, and the stone kind of crumbles a little bit as you scrape it.
I try forcing it deeper. Does it dig in?
You get about a quarter of an inch in before it just sort of stops. Give me a strength check and see if you can push it any further.
That's what she said.
Just the tip.
You can dig your nails in about a half an inch, but that's about as far as they'll go.
That is not enough to support my weight.
Well, so I mean, the climbing plan seems to have gone completely wrong, and there's no rope, and it doesn't seem like there's another pathway down anywhere visible.
It does not seem like there's another pathway down that's anywhere visible.
Well, seems like a good enough place for a sit.
Okay, you have a sit. As you are sitting there, you kind of see. I need a perception check from everybody. Actually, we'll do it this way.
Do I make a perception check?
You do not need to make a perception check. Everyone else does.
Okay.
And we'll say that Clotho passed this as well. So the only one that didn't pass this was Samael.
For obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons. Okay. Rigby and Strontelheim, Reinbach the Third, we're going to call you Strawn. We noticed that, or you guys noticed these little threads of sort of black energy that are sort of swooping down from the center of the city below, sort of swooping up rather from the center of the city below, and they sort of weave their way through the entryway, and then they go down to the very bottom where the crumpled corpse of Henrik is, and they sort of slide into Henrik's corpse and right him. They push him up to his feet, and sort of like all of his bones snap into place, and he's okay again. You are standing in a patch of grass.
Strontelheim will see this occur, will sigh. It's going to be one of those dreams, and he will just walk right out.
I watch him.
Okay, so as you step up onto the edge here and you sort of let your heels lean forward until you fall right off the edge, and you plummet all the way down, and your intestines splay out in every possible direction as you smack into the floor. There's lots of bones crunching. You take an unbelievable amount of damage that we're not going to roll.
I'm gonna try to vampire climb my way down like Dracula does.
Okay. Give me a strength check. Okay, so you start like wailing your hands against the wall, and you can't even get really traction to like get onto the wall to begin with. This is some really smooth stone, so like your feet can't catch any traction, and your fingers, when you try to like push them into the stone, only go so far.
Oh, in that case, I'm going ass over tea kettle backwards because that was my effort. So unless I do a reflex save to stop my way halfway through the descent, then I'm falling.
There's nothing really for you to grab, so you just fall. You plummet all the way down to the ground and kind of splatter a little bit. We will not roll damage for that. But along about the time that you hit the floor, another set of those black threads kind of weave their way out the entrance of the pyramid and wistfully flow down over Strahn's body and sort of wrap themselves around his bones and push them back into place. And you hear lots of crunching and clicking as they form back into the shape they're supposed to be. And then all of his guts kind of get sucked back up into the pit of his gut, and then he gets pulled up to his feet, and he's fine again.
I guess
Either
I'll look
flying or falling, but it's always one of those things. And he pauses for a moment, waiting for it to repeat it.
Rigby, you are pretty much by yourself at this point up there.
at Clotho.
You what?
I'm with Clotho.
Yeah. I mean, but
I'm gonna look
Clotho's
at
up there.
her. I guess there's only one way down. Oh jeez. Jump.
Okay. As you jump, Clotho kind of like stands near the edge and watches you fall until you fall about 120 feet, in which case she just sort of disappears. You hit the floor and your bones scatter all over the damn place. About that time, the black threads kind of come down and wrap themselves around Samael and pull him back up to his feet. They are not kind enough to really piece him back together. They just sort of shove some life into him, and then his bones and skin sort of start to slowly heal on their own. And not long after that, the same threads come back for the shattered bow or the scattered bones of Rigby. But as they're on their way down, Clotho just reappears next to the backpack that he was wearing.
I don't think we could die.
I don't know whether to be reassured about that or horrified.
I think we're already dead.
If that much is a certainty. I mean, I've yet to see any person with their entrails on the outside rather than inside. Oh, we're down here now.
Off
Anything
to-
on the horizon that looks particularly interesting?
You are in a pretty. I mean, it's actually quite the pleasant vale. I mean, there's mountains on all sides. There's a very big round clearing that you guys are standing in. Lots of flowers and looks like some wild grasses of different types and things like that, leading up to the only place where there is not a mountain obscuring your way, which is a forest with a pretty visible path leading through it.
Going to pick a flower.
Okay, you pluck a flower.
It doesn't like wither away in my hand or anything, does it?
Doesn't seem to. Just a
I'm
little
going
daisy.
to try to smell it, see if that works.
Okay. You can kind of smell it. I mean, you don't have a nose, so it's not the same sensation, but I mean, you know it smells sweet.
At least all my senses aren't dead.
I mean, as far as you can tell, none of your senses are really dead. You can hear and see and smell and feel, and I mean, it's
Yeah,
really dry, but you can even kind of taste a little bit.
guess I'll put the flower in. Like, on my backpack, I don't have any clothes to put it on. But
And while I was busy untangling the rope and handing the respective ropes back to their respective owners, and I look to see if I can find anything resembling the verdant spire in the horizon.
You do not see anything that resembles the verdant spire on the horizon. But then you can only see a sliver of the horizon, anyways.
I don't suppose anybody here was good in tracking.
Maybe if we were at Belgrade.
I mean, Strontelheim will give him a meaningful look without eyes or very expressive skin, but, you know, the worm probably sneers a little bit, wormishly, at him. It's at the idea that he would be, familiar with the will.
God damn it, Nick.
So now that you've described, nature and other, piled on primitive nonsense, is there anything, like a city or something like that, or signs of civilization that aren't, half submerged pyramids?
There was a path through the forest that was pretty prominently visible. That's pretty much the closest thing you got to a sign of civilization.
Then I'm going that way.
I follow
Same.
suit.
Yeah.
All right, this is where we're gonna have to cut it off.
Huzzah.
Was,
So everybody got their rope back.
yep. I'm interested to find out if we're all unable to die or if it was just because we were near the necropolis.
Because we were all near the necropolis. Fades a hottie.
So, was this a good first session for everyone?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
having a lot of fun, but I almost wish I played a rogue. Because I wonder if I could sneak attack with myself if I cut my arm off. Would be a very interesting mechanic.
It would indeed. Does anybody have anything of particular remark that they like or dislike about the campaign so far?
I'm upset that I didn't get to keep my arm.
You will get other opportunities.
That's all that matters.
I'm very
I'm-
interested. This is I don't know. This is different and fun.
Yeah, I'm quite curious at a monster-centric campaign, like the apocalypse, but from the monster's point of view.
I mean, I really enjoy the concept of it as well. I think it's gonna, like the character that I created could be a lot of fun.
Should be interesting. I can't help but giggle along for any of Samael's like backstory and narrative because you just have to insert the strategically whenever you're talking about the historical character relevant to him, and it changes the whole flavor of the conversation.
What do I know about the D?
You have a strong connection to the D. You think deeply about your understanding of the D.
Yeah.
And know that joke will haunt you.
I'm interested to find out if we're the good guys or the bad guys.
That's up to you guys. So far, I mean, you have all been able to make decisions for yourselves with no one interfering.
And the D has not showed up yet to fuck things up. But I'm quite keen on finding out the further thing. What other stuff lays ahead in the downfall of civilization.
Yeah, I'm excited. Will be fun.
All right. I will have more stuff planned for next week.
Sweet.
Woot woot, and yeah, save that recording
Yeah, I'm
for
stopping it right now.
great.